Guys, this is Jerry. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some esoteric occult information, and I'm going to talk about current events, and I'm going to be talking about the Demiurge, just because I've seen a lot of misinformation and I feel it will be very enlightening, so please stay till the end and hopefully you feel enlightened with this information. Usually I like to talk about the current events as the last part of the video, all the occult and the unspoken about things, is because I just feel like the people that are watching me, if they stay till the end, they will most likely watch that part, but I'm gonna talk about it in the very beginning. And the current events that we are all seeing on the earth is earthquakes, volcanoes, doomsday fish. There's weather modifications, whether it's being done naturally by Mother Gaia or it is being done by so-called governments and other things like that. If you are watching this channel, you are not a regular person. You know that what is going on in the world is nothing to be stressed out or fearful about, but you know that there is an evolution that is happening. And every time there is a solar maximum, every time that the Mother Earth and the Sun are communicating with each other and they're talking and upgrading the Earth's Schumann resonance, upgrading the Earth's atmosphere, and the beings, us on the Earth as well, upgrading our DNA, you know that there is going to be a big shift that is happening. And if you're just watching the news and you're just an agent, you're just a Mr. Anderson, you're just going to think everything is back. Everything is just according to business and there's nothing new under the sun. There's something that I want to talk about regarding Colombia because it's close to home and that's just what I'm paying attention to, but there was a 6.3 earthquake in Colombia. So all of these earthquakes that normally don't happen in regions all over the world are happening. And for me, the 6.3 earthquake in Colombia was very interesting because it hasn't happened in so many years. But literally on the same day, there was an assassination attempt on a senator by a 15-year-old. Okay? So the reason why I want to bring this up is political candidates all over the world. It seems like they are all being shot at, or they're all being stabbed at around the head. Okay, so in Colombia, there was 10 shots towards the senator, 2 shots hit him in the head, and he was in critical condition. In America, we all know about Trump's assassination attempt in the right ear. He was grazed in the right ear. And in Korea, there was a representative that was stabbed in the neck on live TV. So a regular person would just see that and just be like, oh, that's so crazy, whatever, let me just go back to my life. But the symbolism that I perceive is that the political system is going down as the Hydra, or the three-headed monster that has been reigning over us for a very long time. So the queen went down. That's one of the heads. The second head was the Pope. The Pope is dead. So every time that we see some sort of political candidates getting shot at in the head or trying to just trying to cut down their neck, basically, it is also a sign that the political world is going down as well, and people are starting to perceive that it is just a bunch of bullshit, and they never cared about us. Okay, as we can see in Michael Jackson, what Michael Jackson said, what Tupac said, they never cared about us. That is just the current events that I'm aware of. The astrology, honestly, guys, if you're not into astrology, I highly recommend that you watch Pam Gregory. You watch any other astrologists that you resonate with, because the planetary shifts are crazy this year and we all can feel. Okay, so the planetary shifts are honestly super crazy. And just to give you guys an example, just to give you the facts, the straight up facts are all the planets are changing signs. And if you're not an astrology nerd, you don't really care about this stuff, I highly recommend that you do start caring, because it's also basically a reflection of what is happening to all of humanity, what is happening inside of you, what is happening, all of these shifts of the planet. The thing that is really talked about in this point, as we're in the solstice, and what has recently happened, is the Saturn Neptune conjunct 0 of Aries. Okay, so Neptune was in Pisces for a very long time, and Neptune is the water sign, it's the dreamy sign, but being in Pisces, it also foretells of us being in victimhood, us saying that we don't have control over our destiny, us as humanity being in unconsciousness for a very long time. Saturn is also a ruler, so-called ruler planet, that talks about wars, boundaries, subjugating, being in a net of oppression. Okay? But being in Aries, we now are moving into our God-like state. Aries is the I am. Aries is the sign that is going to take us out of these heavy, dense energies, and it is most likely going to be met with revolutions. When you have Saturn and Neptune together, it's going to basically allude to revolutions, people rising up, or people just realizing, hey, all of this is bullshit. Okay, so that is just a reminder for you guys to definitely check out the astrology. I'm not an astrologist per se, but I always check into what's going on, because it's basically telling me what's going on inside of me. And at this point in time, you should be really trying to notice, who are you transforming into? What are your dreams telling you? What is your body telling you? Are you feeling the upgrades? As the sun is basically flashing all of this cosmic and godly energy towards Earth with all of these X-class solar flares, M-class, whatever it may be, what are you feeling on those days? Are you paying attention to your body, what it's telling you to do? How are your emotions? And how are your dreams? What are your dreams basically transmitting to you? What kind of person? What is the new evolution for you going to be, as our bodies are turning from carbon to crystalline? We're becoming the crystalline people, crystalline humans, earthlings. And that's basically going to have heaven on earth once again. What is that all for you? Because this is just the precursor to our final evolutionary steps. It's not final, but it's going to be our more evolved transitions. What does that look like for you? What do you perceive yourself to be or be like in the very near future? And I say all of that to say that there are so many sacred texts, whether it's the Vedic texts, whether it's the Gnostic texts, whatever belief, or Buddhism, whatever belief or mythology that we look at from our ancient ancestors and from our predecessors, they all are talking about the end of a Kali Yuga. And all of this to just basically say that if we look at the mythology, we look at Buddhism, we look at the Vedic texts, the Vedic texts say it very straightforward that this is the end of a Kali Yuga. We are leaving the clay age, we're leaving the darkness of the moon, the lunar cycle, and we are entering the solar cycle. And that is going to lead us and continue us into a golden age. And we can go back to living in our light bodies, living as our God selves without any subjugation. And that is what I wanted to talk about today. Okay, so one image I wanted to share with you guys is an image that I saw in B. Dell's video, and I'll link some of his videos down below, but I really love listening to him because he gives a lot of information in 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and he talks about it breaks down exactly what is happening on Earth, so that's what I wanted to get into. And the first thing that it breaks down is the first wave. The first wave. So we have the gentle awakening that basically began around 2020. So when COVID happened, there was a lot of energies, a lot of things that were happening on the landlines, and they knew about this. So you could say that there was an artificial virus, artificial lockdown that was going around because they wanted to make the people fearful. And this actually activated the first waves of souls. Okay? So it says here it was the foretellers, the healers, the star seeds, the 144 that were awakened during this time. And a lot of the illusions started to dissolve for these people, and they are the teachers, they are the leaders that are going to continue the next wave of people that are going to wake up. Okay, on the same infographic, it says the second wave, the mass heart awakening flash. Okay, so the expected date or timeline is 2025 into early 2026. Okay, so we are in 2025. If you're not awake yet, you are going to be one of the ones that are going to awake into your God self. And I'm going to read a little bit here. It says, the activation of the second wave, those who are still unsure, closed off, or emotionally asleep. They awaken divine masculine heart awakens, especially those who have been running or resisting love. It ignites memories of soul contracts, twin flames, and so on. Okay, if you or the people around you are still unconscious to what is happening on the planet, they have a lot more shadows. They have a lot more programming that they're going to get rid of. But this mass heart awakening is going to happen whether they like it or not. If people don't wake up during this time, during 2025 to 2026, then they're just not going to wake up. And that doesn't mean that you feel sorry for them or you try to, urge them to believe the things that you believe in or that you know of or you're experiencing. It just means that they have some sort of karma or soul contract where they're not going to be awake. And whether they're going to stay here on Earth or they're going to continue on a different planet, continuing their karmas and their book of life somewhere else, okay? Because the energies are just going to be so high that we're going to start to see all of this purging, this darkness. We're going to start seeing entities that we couldn't see before, all these dark entities that we couldn't see before. And we're going to be like, what the heck is that? Why are you guys just walking around our earth like you own it? Okay? And the third thing in the infographic is the full flash, the final pulse. And it says this is likely to happen in 2026 to 2027 with an anchoring beginning beforehand. Okay, this is the final separation of the timelines of the 3D versus the 5D. Activation of full light body codes on first and second wave souls, dissolution of fake control systems, and full transparency. Awakening of New Earth. Okay, this is really good news, and there's a lot of people that channel on YouTube. There's a lot of people that are giving out information that there is going to be a flash that's going to awaken souls. But if you are awakened, if you are going through your upgrading process, then the best thing that you can do is just, as the earth is going through its awakening and you are also going through your evolution, the best thing that you can do is to open your heart as much as you can to all of these changes, receive the energies from the sun, ground yourself in nature if you can go to the park, if you can go hug a tree. And a lot of people are going to scoff, they're going to ridicule, they're going to say, what does that even mean? Why would I open up my heart? What does opening up my heart really mean? And it's because they don't want to let the vulnerability out. They don't understand that your heart is where the soul sits. Okay? This is where your magnetism comes from. This is how you start attracting things into your life, is through your heart. So don't let people scoff at you, and you need to start opening. You need to make sure that you're doing your shadow work and that you're not just like listening to other people and you're not doing your healing process. You intuitively know what your healing looks like because you can feel it. You know that you shouldn't be eating terrible foods. You know that you should be getting sunlight. You know that every single day you have a chance to change your perspective. You're not going to be in victimhood. You're not going to say, oh, look at all my traumas and all the things that happened to me. That is not who you are. And as we're going through these waves, all of these shifts, you need to start healing yourself. You need to stop resisting, stop listening to all of the haters, all the people that scoff at all of this information, because they're most likely not going to be awake. And if they do wake up, they're going to wake the heck up and they're going to come back and say, I'm sorry for what I said. Okay, guys, so I wanted to get into the meat of the presentation, and I wanted to talk about the Demiurge. And the reason why I want to talk about the Demiurge is because I see a lot of misinformation. I'm going to link a few, I think maybe one or two videos from Bdell 1014 because he really goes into it very accurately and I think on a very more detailed and scientific level. If you guys want more information or you want to learn more about maybe this is the first time that you're hearing about this. Okay, so I wanted to go over the etymology of the Demiurge because it is very important to see what kind of spells are being cast when you say words or when you use words. So, Demiurge. It is the Latinized form of Greek demiurgos, literally public or skilled worker, worker for the people, from demos, common people. And it goes on to say, in the Gnostic system, conceived as being a subordinate to the supreme being, and sometimes as the author of evil. So, I took the word demi and I looked it up, and this is what demi literally means. Demi means half, half-sized and partial. Okay? It is Latin, it means half, one half, which contains the elements apart and in the middle, between. And literally, as I go down and I look at some of the other entries or other relating words, it has the word demigod. Okay, that's very important. And a demigod is an inferior or minor deity, as being partly of divine nature. So let's go to the last etymology, which is the last part of the word, which is urge. Demiurge or urge. Urge is a verb, and it means to press, impel, or force onward. In Latin is urge, urgere, press hard, push forward, force, drive, compel, stimulate. Okay, the root is constructed from the source of Lithuanian fasten, squeeze. Urge, act of urging, fact of being urged, and an impelling emotion. Okay, as we can see, demiurge, that word, the spell that is being cast when we hear those words together is, we can see that there is some sort of impartial, some sort of half creation that is going on. And in order to understand what this creation is, what the demiurge is that has subjugated humanity for so long, we have to go back to the history. And the history goes back to ancient times when the Anunnaki came to Earth. Okay? The Anunnaki came to Earth because they were looking for ways to recover or bring health back to their planet, and they found that they could bring health back to their planet and all the destruction with gold. Okay, so they came to the planet, these beings who thought themselves higher than humans came to Earth, and they were just doing their thing, just mining for gold. But there was one specific being, one specific dark being that came to Earth, and his name was Enlil. And if you guys don't know who he is, I highly recommend that you look more into him. But Enlil came to Earth, and as these demigods came to Earth and they wanted to create a civilization, a lot of the myths would say that they created the Atlantean civilization. They brought their civilization or their influences from Nibiru to Earth, and Enlil was the dark being. Enlil was the dark demigod that came to Earth with his fallen angels. And it is stated in Enoch there was 22 fallen angels, these dark beings that came to Earth, and all they wanted to do was wreak havoc and turn a free will universe, a free will world into a restricted one. So, these 22 fallen angels that came down, according to Enoch, they came to descend and basically to start corrupting humanity, basically to teach us things that we should not be taught, like warfare, how to make destruction, how to make weapons of destruction, and teaching forbidden knowledge that is not known by innocent beings that are just trying to evolve. Okay? One occult information that I want to point out is basically, if you are watching any movie from Paramount signals or gives you a sign that if you count all of the stars around the Paramount Mountain, there's 22 stars. And those 22 stars are basically showing us the 22 fallen angels that came down from the mountain and where they started with Enlil to basically come up with a plan to take over the free will universe, this free world Earth, and turn it into their restricted kingdom reign. And that is exactly what they began to construct. And there is many phrases, there's much evidence in the Bible where it says, oh, this is the great Jehovah that is speaking. This is the great God that is speaking. But there is much evidence that God is not speaking. This is Enlil. And there is evidence of Enlil starting his reign, starting to subjugate the humans, starting to try to bring destruction and take us away from our godly capacity right in the beginning of Genesis. So in Genesis, it says God said, but this is actually Enlil starting his creation of the Demiurge or the firmament on the earth. So I'm going to read you guys what it says in the Bible, and there's like a million versions that all say the same thing. So I'm just going to read you the very top one, King James Version. And it says, "And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Again, it literally says in the Bible, a firmament was made over the earth. Why would the creator all of a sudden want to create a boundary between the living beings and the outside space? There literally says, let there be an expanse of sky in the midst of the waters. Let there be a firmament. Let there be a firmament. Let there be a dome. In one of the versions, God said, let there be a dome in the middle of the waters to separate the waters from each other. So the waters of the earth were separated from the waters from up above, and we were basically taken out of our capacity, taken out of this link and connection to the celestial bodies above. And this is all a creation of Enlil. Enlil, who came to Earth, who wanted to corrupt humanity, who has essentially achieved some sort of subjugation and corruption, because we all think that he was the God of the Bible. We all thought that he was Jehovah. We all thought that he was this great being. But if you guys listen to Billy Carson, if you listen to Paul Wallace, they all say that this God, this so-called God that told people to rape and to pillage and to basically that there was a chosen people, all of this is not really God. God would never come down as a human and have human emotions and be angry and tell people to rape and to pillage and basically have some sort of special people or genetic or basically cleansing, blood cleansing of people, bloodshed of people. This would never happen with a true God. Okay, so the Yahweh that most of the people on earth think is Yahweh is actually Enlil, who makes himself known in various texts in the Bible, in mythological texts, as the rain, as the creator of the firmament, as the creator of this network that basically sucks the energy and the emotions from us, and they use it for their own devices, using it to subjugate us, using our own energy against us. Okay, so how did Enlil start to subjugate? How did he start to corrupt the existing humans that were already here and try to turn this into his restricted planets with a firmament and artificial technology. How did he start to basically modify the human? So I wanted to point to what Dr. Malachi Z. York says in one of his publications. And it says, question, why was the Bathary gland removed? Answer, the Bathary gland was removed because Adam, being from the disagreeable tribe called Kuthites, disagreed with Hawa's decision for their son Seth to be in the image and the likeness of the Elohim. As stated in Genesis 4:25, and Adam knew that his wife, and she bore a son, and called him Seth. For God said, she has appointed me another seed. Adam was upset because this incident with Cain slaying Abel in Genesis 4:8 was just an experiment to test their natures. Okay, in Nubian mythology, the Bathary gland is basically what gives us all of our psychic powers, okay? When Enlil came down to earth with the Elohim, the 22 angels, he decided that he was going to cut off genetically all of these psychic and basically telepathic powers. So the Bathary gland resides in the hippocampus, where you can start to have telepathy, clairvoyance, intuition, psychometry. And if you guys go back to the book of Genesis and you read the Adam and Eve story, then you know that God did not place two humans in a garden and say, okay, now you're going to populate the earth, okay? This was Enlil doing his genetic modifications and experiments on humans, treating them as animals and basically trying to cut us off from our God nature. And again, Billy Carson talks about this, Paul Wallace talks about this, but in the Garden of Eden, if they were the only two humans on Earth, then why were there guards outside of the Garden of Eden? Why would there be guards? I thought that there was only two humans on Earth. So that is just like one of the inconsistencies and basically signaling to us that the God, the Yahweh that is talked about in the Bible is not the creator. It is Enlil trying to continue his reign and subjugation upon everybody. Okay, so this demiurge or this net that basically subjugated all of the earthlings, all of the people that were already organic and here on earth, this was the spiritual cutoff that Enlil did, who was Yaboth, he was Yahweh. He put a firmament over the earth so we could not receive cosmic energies, so that we would always be stuck in some sort of time dialysis, some sort of artificial time analysis. Okay, so this demiurge, this firmament, this spiritual cutoff that Enlil instituted and he created, and he pressed upon the humans that were already existing. He put this firmament over the earth, okay? He put his artificial creation over the earth so we could be cut off from our powers. And he also cut off our powers on a genetic level, splicing and doing whatever he wanted with the existing humans on earth, okay? And we are trapped in time. We are trapped in an artificial time analysis. This is what Bedell talks about in all of his videos, and as spoken about by Rod Hayes on YouTube, you guys can look him up. Since there was a firmament, since there was a cutoff, since there is a subjugation that is happening on Earth by the Demiurge, by this creation of Enlil, by Enlil himself and his artificial technology, his artificial way of reigning over the Earth. Okay? As Rod Hayes says, the Pleiadians have a light lock over the Earth. And as we are being subjugated by this entity, this light lock was put over the Earth, basically where we're trapped in time, and we're basically here to try to figure out what has happened to us. We're here to try to figure out what is the truth of humanity and who are the ones that basically got us here. The firmament is a net, okay? It cuts you off from your magnetism. It cuts you off from your powers. And the Pleiadian light lock is basically created by the Pleiadians to ensure that everything in Earth just stays in Earth, okay? Whatever subjugation or weird things that continue to happen as Earth is going on with its lunar cycle, its unconscious phase of the Kali Yuga. It's just going to be situated in Earth. Okay, so whenever you guys look into the Demiurge, you're always going to go back to the Gnostics. And the Gnostics are divided about what the Demiurge is, or this creation, this net, this new planetary system that was put into place. And they say, the Gnostics literally say that the Demiurge is the creator of the lower worlds. Okay, who is the creator of the lower worlds? It is Enlil. So Enlil is the one that wanted to create this low vibrational place, wanted basically Earth to be for the Elohim, for him and his posse, for him and his dark angels. Okay? Okay, so the Gnostics all say that the Demiurge is the creator of the lower worlds, and we are in a low vibration Earth right now because we have been subjugated from our spiritual powers. We have this firmament over us, we have this net, and we have a lot of artificial technology, a lot of extraterrestrial technology that is here to try to subjugate us as much as we can, take us out of our God capacity. So the first sect of Gnostics say that it is a miserable evil creature that builds the lower world to encase souls into bodies. Okay? And again, this points to Enlil, that Enlil is this miserable evil creature that's trying to build some sort of lower world, some sort of earth that will only be pleasant for him and his Elohim and his dark angels. And when you are on Earth, it is like a university. We're here to learn what is going on, what is the truth that has been basically shown in our faces, but we don't realize that it's the truth. We get little signs and facts. We get little signals, but they're not telling us the whole truth of what has happened to humans. And it has separated us from the truth. Okay? So a lot of times when you come to Earth, a lot of souls come here and they go through some sort of reincarnation cycle. That is not natural. We should not be reincarnating over and over. We should not be doing that. But that is what Enlil has created. Okay, this is what he has instituted, is that every time a soul comes to Earth and every time a soul leaves Earth, if that soul goes towards the light, which is a light on the moon, then it's just going to recycle you back to the earth. And you're going to go through this reincarnation cycle because you were too ignorant to try to seek the truth, or you just did not understand what was going on earth. All right, the second sect of Gnostics, they say that the Demiurge is a divinely inspired and created by the dictates of the invisible God. Okay? So, as we can see, the Demiurge, the creation of Enlil himself, he is the Demiurge, his creation of the firmament and all of his technologies is what is subjugating Earth. And if you have negative emotion, if you have a lot of trauma, you are feeding the creation, the dark creation. You are feeding the demiurge with your negative emotions. That's why a lot of people say the demiurge is emotion, because every time you bring negativity to the earth, you're strengthening the net. You're strengthening this unconsciousness. You're strengthening this ignorance upon earth. And this is what's going to keep this artificial firmament, this is what's going to keep all of this dark energy and keep people from waking up. All right, so we're getting towards the end. I just wanted to give you guys some symbolism that is shown in tarot regarding Demiurge. In the tarot, the emperor is seen as the Demiurge. Okay, it is said that he is the great king of the inferior world. Again, technically, it is again pointing to Enlil. Enlil is the great king of the inferior world. He is the one that created these systems that we have in place, all of these governments, this firmament, okay, that we have in place, the ignorance, the unconsciousness of humanity that we have in place. He is the king, the so-called king, the self-proclaimed king who came to earth and made it into an inferior place, okay? And if we look at the tarot, the throne is a cube stone, okay? So the cube, again, is a symbol of subjugation over the mind. It is locking us into place. It is a sign of Saturn, which goes to the demonic forces, which goes back to Enlil's demonic forces, 22 fallen angels. That is his sign. That is what lets us know that his throne is the throne of this unconscious world that we're living in. Okay, so I wanted to read you guys what the demiurge is in Revelations chapter 13. So Revelations chapter 13 says, "A great beast which rose out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns." Okay, that is the demiurge according to the Bible. Again, there is a lot of symbolism that is in our world, and a lot of people don't understand this symbolism, and they want to take the Bible literally. They want to say that Yahweh told them to rape and pillage and basically do all of this evil stuff. But a great beast which rose out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The sea monster relates to the world, is the demiurge, okay, that came to swallow the immortal part of human nature, okay? So the demiurge, Enlil, came to earth, tried to take us out of our immortal capacity. And for thousands of years, that is exactly what he has done. He as an energy. okay, a dark energy, because it's better to see things as energies rather than real people. And it says 7 heads and 10 thorns. So there are 7 stars of the Great Dipper. So that's what it's referring to. And the 10 horns is referring to the 10 primordial patriarchs, which again goes back to Enlil, who basically wanted to create this matriarchal earth into a patriarchal, evil, twisted, demonic society, planet. And for thousands of years, he almost did it. He almost had his reign over the earth. Okay guys, so that was the presentation for today. I wanted to describe what has happened to humanity, and this has all been talked about before, but I think it's very relevant for us today to hear about what had happened to humanity, why we were stuck in a Kali Yuga for so long. We were stuck in a dark age for so long that we did not remember what happened to our ancestors. We did not know that the God of the Bible is not the true God. He is an energy, a demonic energy that has been over the earth trying to take us away from our capacities. And yes, these beings that came from Nibiru, these Anunnaki that came down, there was a faction of them that was here to bring about advancement and evolution to humanity, but then there was also Enlil, and he is just a raging patriarch that just wanted to basically become the so-called god over the earth, but it did not work whatsoever. And I think after listening to this, I highly recommend that you go and you look at the mythological text, you listen to other podcasts that are talking about this. Billy Carson talks about this a lot, and he's a very good entry point if you want to listen to what he says, because he's going to say it a lot more masterfully and a lot more eloquently than I did. But yeah, guys, this is what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think, or if you guys have any questions, or if you have any comments, or if you think that I should look into something, please let me know. But other than that, I'm going to say peace out. Thanks for watching. Bye.